When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day my husband's childhood sweetheart returned from out of town, heavily pregnant. The childhood sweetheart, Xiao Yunyun, was a hopeless romantic who had run off to the city where her online boyfriend lived to pursue love unexpectedly. She was abandoned by the man and came back home while 6 months pregnant since our families lived close by. My mother-in-law had brought us over to her house for a visit. Her mother, in a fit of anger, was about to hit her in front of us, giving her two choices, either abort the baby or give it up for adoption after birth. Xiao Yunyun knelt on the ground, on the verge of tears. Mom, the baby is already 7 months old. In a few more months, it'll be born. These are 2 lives we're talking about. I don't care. Why don't you make the baby's father take responsibility? Are you coming home to let me, a single mother, raise it for you? I was very familiar with my mother-in-law's best friend, as our families had close ties. Aunt Lu, Xiao Yunyun's mother, had been divorced early on and raised her daughter alone. She often called me her other daughter. My soft-hearted husband, Jian Mingjie, couldn't bear to see Xiao Yunyun cry. He felt sorry for her and helped her up from the ground. Yunyun, just admit your mistake and say something soft. Your mother is only being hard on you because she wants you to do well. He turned to look at me. Wu Yin. Yunyun is a single mother and can't afford to raise 2 children. How about we take the baby in after it's born? In my past life, I hesitated for only 2 seconds before nodding in agreement. The reason was that I had been married to Jian Mingjie for 4 years without getting pregnant, yet he never left me and always spoke well of me in front of his parents, in front of relatives and friends. He put on a cheerful face for my sake. He treats my parents even better than I do, bringing large bags of nutritional supplements to their home during every holiday and festival. I longed to have a baby with him. We were a loving couple, and not having children was the only regret between us. Actually, my period had been a few days late this month, but I just hadn't thought about it in that way. I agreed to adopt his childhood sweetheart's child, until I miscarried from exhaustion while caring for a pair of twins, and the doctor said I could never have my own children again. In my past life, I didn't know that Xiao Yunyun's so-called online dating partner was actually my good husband. I fell for the sweet talk from both their families and ruined my entire life. In this life, looking at the scene before me, I just felt like laughing. Xiao Yunyun's mother, along with my mother-in-law and Jian Mingjie, had probably planned it all out long ago, how to trick me into accepting these 2 children. They calculated to make me the ultimate sucker, to work my life away for them, earning money for their whole family to spend. In my past life, I couldn't see through it, but in this life, they won't get a single bit of advantage out of me. Mingjie, we're going to have our own child. Jian Mingjie's eyes widened. He didn't meet my gaze but instead looked directly at Aunt Lu, then turned to his mother-in-law and Xiao Yunyun. After their eyes met for a moment, Jian Mingjie was stunned for a second, then came surprise, not joy. Wu Yin, are you serious? Of course. Last night, I dreamed I was holding a big carp in my arms. My mom said that's a pregnancy dream. It means it's a boy. My mother-in-law had a smile on her face, but it looked fake. After being reborn, I become much more clear-headed. Many details I hadn't noticed before are now right before my eyes, crystal clear. Wu Yin, believing you have a child just because of a dream is not something to take seriously. I knew they wouldn't want to admit it. If I really had a child, how could I accept the illegitimate child of Xiao Qingmei and Jian Mingjie? I don't understand. If he truly loves Xiao Yunyun, why did he come to ruin me? Also, in my past life, I was perfectly fine. Why did I suddenly miscarry after adopting the twins? Before that, I had always been in good health. The reason I didn't get pregnant was that I was too busy with work, and for the first 2 years of marriage, I had been using contraception for the sake of my career. But when I finally wanted to have a baby with Jian Mingjie, I just couldn't get pregnant. Mom, at least this is a good sign. Maybe Mingjie and I will have our own child soon. Since I can have my own precious child, why should I raise someone else's or raise his and Xiao Yunyun's illegitimate child? Thinking back to everything I went through in my past life, I wanted to tear apart this group of hypocritical people standing before me. It's just that you haven't been able to get pregnant all this time. Wu Yin, think it over again. Yunyun really has it tough on her own. What the hell does her having it tough have to do with me? Since I didn't agree, they started guilt-tripping me. I'll just wait and see what other tricks they can pull. Oh, Jian Mingjie's face darkened. What do you mean by that? Are you unwilling to help Yunyun with this? Wu Yin, I never thought you'd be this kind of person. All these years, with your infertility, I've covered for you in front of your parents, relatives, and friends. How can you be so unreasonable? Yeah, Wu Yin, you married into our Jian family. Don't you know how we've treated you? Now Aunt Lu and Yunyun are facing such a tough situation. What's wrong with lending them a hand? talking about adopting 2 kids as if it's as easy as keeping a couple of cats or dogs. Help, of course I'll help. I'll have my friends in the media track down her boyfriend's workplace. As long as he has a formal job, he definitely won't want this to blow up. We hold the upper hand here. Jian Mingjie was stunned. Her mother-in-law was speechless. As for Aunt Lu and Xiao Yunyun, their faces, once on the verge of tears, had turned a livid purple. Their mouths hung wide open, unable to close. Perhaps none of the 3 had expected that I, usually so docile, would suddenly become this sharp and come up with such a counterattack. And what's this? I'm not even listening to Jian Mingjie anymore. Honey, Yining, how could you do this? My husband got anxious. Mingjie, what did I do? I'm just trying to help Xiao Yunyun out. Is there a more practical way than this? He was left speechless. Those with guilty consciences wouldn't dare let anyone find evidence. They want me to be the scapegoat. I just wouldn't take the bait. After all, I wasn't the one in a hurry. I just sat back, cracking sunflower seeds and enjoying the show. You can't. My mother-in-law was terrified that I might actually call my media friend. Mom, can't what? You can't go find her boyfriend. I mean, you're unfamiliar with the place. And even if you go, you won't find him. Yunyun is about to give birth, and we need to solve the problem at hand. I crossed my arms and looked at Jian Mingjie. Wu Yin, stop making a scene. You haven't gotten pregnant all these years, so isn't adopting Yunyun's child perfect? It'll save you from suffering further. He spoke with such sincerity. To have a child, I had even undergone IVF. How many needles did I endure? How much pain did I suffer? And in the end, I was schemed against for a lifetime. Honey, if we were to have our own child, would you choose to adopt Xiao Yunyun's or keep ours? I asked that deliberately. I already knew the answer, but I still wanted to hear it. Perhaps that's just a woman's stubbornness when it comes to love. Yunyun hasn't had it easy. We should lend a hand when we can. Wu Yin, I know you can understand that. Ha, I really asked for that humiliation. Knowing something is one thing, but hearing the confirmation finally made my heart die. I'm tired. I want to go home. If I stayed any longer, I was afraid I'd lose control and slap him. Jian Mingjie noticed I was in a bad mood. After all these years together, we could read each other with just a glance. Alright, I'll take you home so you can get some rest. And you? He looked at Xiao Yunyun. I need to go to the maternity store to buy some pregnancy and postpartum supplies for Yunyun. You behave yourself. Okay, Yunyun this, Yunyun that. Everything revolves around her. Anyone would think Xiao Yunyun was his wife instead of me. Was I stupid or blind in the past, refusing to admit such obvious flaws? That night, Jian Mingjie came home very late. When I felt the mattress sink, his arm instinctively reached over to hold me. After being reborn, just seeing this person makes me sick. When he touched me, I tried hard to suppress the discomfort inside and turned over without making a sound. Yining, you're awake. Is everything settled with Xiao Yunyun? Almost. Yining, Yunyun is pregnant and needs care. Auntie Lu said I should go over and keep her company more often. You wouldn't mind, would you? I sneered inwardly. What does her child have to do with you? What do you mean by that? Yunyun and I grew up together. We're like siblings. You're not jealous of her, are you? Wu Yin, your behavior today really disappointed me. After saying that, he turned his back to me and ignored me. I never noticed before, but every time we had a conflict, he would resort to the silent treatment and then blame me for being unreasonable. He had the whole gaslighting routine down pat. When the filter of love faded, he was just an ordinary and pretentious man. I must have been blind back then. The unfaithful shall swallow 10,000 needles. In our past lives, you squandered my fortune and lived a life of luxury, while my soul had long drifted to who knows where. In this life, I will never let you have your way. Lying in bed, my thoughts drifted far away. When I was dating Jian Mingjie, his childhood sweetheart Xiao Yunyun was always the third wheel between us. At that time, I was a sophomore, and Jian Mingjie was a senior, 1 year ahead of me. One day, my roommate told me that a photo of me reading in the library had been posted on the confession wall. Wu Yin, you've been confessed to by a senior. That's senior Jian Mingjie, the object of admiration for so many girls. Really? My roommate dragged me over to the bulletin board. It was a photo of me deeply engrossed in a book, with the background blurred. In the picture, I looked scholarly, pure, and playful. This photo caused a stir. My classmates found out my major in dorm room. That very evening, Jian Mingjie stood outside my dormitory building holding a bouquet of roses. My roommates gave me a beautiful makeup and sent me downstairs. Hello, Wu Yin, I'm Jian Mingjie. I like you. Will you be my girlfriend? I shyly took the flowers. Well, it depends on how you perform. He showed his sincerity through his actions. Jian Mingjie is tall and good-looking. The height difference between us is quite fitting. He's Cheyenne tends to blush when teased, but he treats me well. He usually gets me water and meals, saves seats in the library, sends red packets and small gifts on holidays, and constantly checks in on me. He really does a thorough job, that is, if he didn't always bring along his childhood friend Xiao Yunyun on every date. The first time I met Xiao Yunyun was shortly after we had just confirmed our relationship. He said she was a girl next door from his neighborhood, studying at the school next door, and told me not to be too nervous. With a bit of unease, I went to the restaurant across from the school. Through the glass, I saw Jian Mingjie sitting with a girl. She was hooking her arm around his, leaning on his shoulder, chatting intimately. Jian Mingjie even reached out and stroked her head. The girl giggled softly, their heads close together, almost touching. Anyone who saw this scene would definitely think they were a pair of loving lovers. I was young at the time. As soon as I voiced my doubts, he swore to the heavens that he had no second thoughts about me and that he and Xiao Yunyun were like siblings. They grew up together and had plenty of opportunities to be close. If anything were to happen between them, it would have happened long before now. He even called his mother in front of me. She explained the relationship between the two families and repeatedly assured me that there was nothing between them, telling me to relax. Only then did my doubts subside. Our first meeting was actually not very pleasant. Xiao Yunyun had short hair, looking as capable as a tomboy, but she was still fairly delicate-featured in front of Jian Mingjie. She was somewhat domineering, even a bit spoiled, a trait clearly born from being doted on. From the moment I walked in, Jian Mingjie quickly pulled his hand away from hers, but she impatiently insisted on keeping it as it was. Her eyes looked me up and down. So, Jian Mingjie likes girls like this. What kind of girls? The opposite of her. Long hair down to the waist, innocent nature, and sweet looks. Xiao Yunyun and I were indeed two completely different types. Even though I had a bad feeling about it, I truly loved him back then. My love-blinded mind convinced me that there was nothing wrong between them and that I was just overthinking. Don't talk nonsense. My girlfriend will get shy. Jian Mingjie took my hand and pulled me to sit beside him. Oh, protecting her already. Jian Mingjie, I haven't even said anything. Afraid I'll bully your little white rabbit. The meal was indeed not very pleasant. She is my boyfriend's neighbor's little sister. I thought that as long as Jian Mingjie liked me, I could overlook her behavior. After all, I'm not dating her. But later, 8 out of 10 dates, he would bring Xiao Yunyun along. Now that I think about it, I've forgotten how I was persuaded by him back then. On my phone, it was Jian Mingjie's call. I frowned and answered. Hello, Yining, isn't your cousin the head of the gynecology department at the 4th hospital? Could you ask her to take a look at Yunyun, maybe squeeze her in? My sister is a gynecologist, and she often studies, attends lectures, and goes to academic conferences and other places. Even booking in advance doesn't guarantee an appointment. She has always been the one taking care of my health. At the entrance of the 4th hospital, Xiao Yunyun, heavily pregnant, held on to Jian Mingjie's arm as he helped her out of the car. They exchanged a smile, looking every bit the doting wife and the considerate husband. The moment he saw me, the smile on his face instantly faded. Wu Yin, what are you standing here for? Did you confirm with your sister beforehand? I did. Have you prepared the gift for my sister? He opened his phone, showing a gift box of La Mer's black lotion, already paid for. Ha, he's really going all out for the sake of Xiao Yunyun's child. A smile lingered on my face, but the hatred inside me was slowly surging upward. The gifts he usually gives me are all discounted items. When has he ever spent this much on me? I've been to Xiao Yunyun's place. On her vanity table, there are nothing but high-end international brands, jewelry, accessories, and designer bags. No doubt, all of that was bought with our joint marital assets. For years of dating, for years of marriage. In these 8 years, what role have I played? Was I a catalyst for his relationship with Xiao Yunyun, or just a shield in their path of love? None of that matters anymore. What I want is for them to pay the price. In the consultation room, my sister glanced at Xiao Yunyun. Mingjie, if your childhood friend is pregnant, shouldn't her husband be the one accompanying her here? Jian Mingjie was taken aback for a moment, but quickly regained his composure. Yunyun, she's single. Oh, Jian Mingjie took my hand, as if to explain something. Yining and I have been married for years without getting pregnant, so we want to adopt my childhood friend's child. I laughed bitterly inside, saying something like that in front of my family showed exactly how little I meant to him. My sister and I exchanged a glance, confusion in her eyes. Doesn't Yining already have a child? Why adopt someone else's? Jian Mingjie, a child? That's impossible. Why is it impossible? Shouldn't you be happy that she has a child? What kind of attitude is that? My sister was clearly a bit unhappy. I quickly patted her on the shoulder. Mingjie hasn't adjusted yet. Privately, I told my cousin to keep this secret for me. saying I wanted to surprise my husband. Jian Mingjie got scolded by my sister and only then realized that as a husband, he really shouldn't have acted that way. No, sis, I just think that Yining hasn't had a child for so many years, and suddenly getting pregnant is a bit, exactly, if she were going to get pregnant, she would have done it long ago. Why would it happen now? This was said by Xiao Yunyun. I clenched my fists in anger. This woman loves to make snide remarks. I used to think she was just spoiled by her family, but now I know she does it on purpose. Some people just can't stand seeing others do well. They took my husband, made me a stepping stone for their love, and even expected me to work my fingers to the bone for them. Are you Xiao Yunyun? She nodded. You should see a neurologist first. Xiao Yunyun, how dare you speak to me like that? My sister slowly put down the pen in her hand. That's exactly how I speak. When Yining gets pregnant is her own business. What business is it of outsiders? Turning around, she met the man beside her again. Jian Mingjie, how are you being a husband? Sis, it was all just jokes. Wu Yin, why don't you talk to your sister? Yunyun just speaks her mind. She doesn't have any bad intentions. I let out a soft laugh. He was quick to gloss over her bluntness, but my child seemed to have nothing to do with him. Forget it, sis. Let's start the checkup. Xiao Yunyun shot me a cold glare, as if I were the one to blame. Then, she took the form and walked out. Are you really not going to tell him? I nodded. My cousin said that it wasn't easy for me to conceive this child, and if anything really happened, the chances of getting pregnant again would be very slim. Even though since my rebirth, I didn't want to have the child of that scumbag, but, given my current situation, I have no other choice. After a whole morning of fuss, Jian Mingjie ended up leaving me behind to take Xiao Yunyun home. In the evening, Jian Mingjie asked me seriously if I was really pregnant. I took a cup to get some water, with a smile in the corners of my eyes. I looked at him. What do you think? I'm not a mind reader. How am I supposed to know if you're really pregnant or just tricking me? This scumbag. Xiao Yunyun's baby is his treasure, but mine is just worthless. When I said I was pregnant, his first reaction wasn't joy, but suspicion that I was lying. Why would I lie to you? Jian Mingjie stood up, took the cup from my hand, and downed the water in one gulp. You don't want to adopt Yunyun's child, and this is your excuse. I wanted to curse him out in my head. Honey, aren't you afraid I might poison you? Would you? Why was he so sure? It was because I spoiled him, making him think we were each other's first love. From campus to wedding, 8 years of relationship. How many 8 years does one have in life? But he and Xiao Yunyun have known each other since they were kids. By that measure, our relationship really doesn't count for much. However, the last thing he should have done was deceive me and try to squeeze every last bit of value out of me. Tell me clearly, are you pregnant or not? He was eager to confirm. Of course I'm, just kidding. I deliberately dragged out my words. Jian Mingjie's tense face finally relaxed a little. He came over and pulled me into his arms. Yining, you scared me to death. We're in no position to have a child right now. If you really want to get pregnant, let's talk about it in a few years. No position, as if we're living so poorly. And as if he's made such a huge contribution to this family. He probably forgot that I'm the one holding this family together. With his salary of a few thousand to 10,000 a month, can he even afford la mère using my money to raise his lover's child? How does he have the nerve? My family's background is far better than his. By many times my father runs a company, and my mother is in the pharmaceutical business. There are several companies, and I'm in charge of one of them. From dating to marriage, I have always prioritized work, and in the company, I am a strong woman admired by everyone. I earned several houses in our family with my own efforts, not just for ourselves. I also paid for a 3-bedroom apartment for his parents, located right in the city center. As for Jian Mingjie's family, they are just ordinary working class people. After graduation, he only became a minor clerk at a regular company. When we got married, there was no betrothal gift, no wedding house, nothing at all. They even called it free love, claiming we shouldn't be tainted by these bad social customs. But when it comes to my in-laws' food and expenses, or buying luxury goods for his childhood sweetheart, why isn't that considered a bad social custom? Last year, my mother-in-law felt too lonely and insisted on bringing her old best friend to live with her. That was how they scraped together some money to let Aunt Lu and Xiao Yunyun also buy a place in the same neighborhood as my mother-in-law. This brought the two families even closer. Judging by Xiao Yunyun's belly, maybe that was when their feelings for each other rekindled, or perhaps they had never really broken things off, just kept it hidden from me. The foolish, love-blind woman. I loved him with all my heart and never cared about his family's circumstances. Maybe they, along with Xiao Yunyun, saw me as easy to fool. Xiao Yunyun's belly grows bigger every day, and I know they haven't given up trying to convince me to accept her 2 children. Now, I could get a divorce, but why should I let that pair of scumbags off so easily? Not only will I let them have the child, but I'll also make them taste what it's like to be broke. Will their family still be so loving then? On the weekend, my mother-in-law asked us to come over for dinner at her place. Jian Mingjie had packed a bunch of nutritional supplements early on, ready to head out. Those were all gifts from my clients and friends, and I hadn't even had time to send any to my own parents. As soon as we walked in, the two people who were always glued to the living room sofa had already arrived. Xiao Yunyun was pregnant, her figure bloated and her mouth never stopping, with acne on her face that looked quite frightening. I wonder if Jian Mingjie could still bring himself to kiss her. Seeing her like this, Aunt Lu came forward to greet us. "Yining, you're back. You've been looking pretty good lately, but you're still too thin. You should gain some weight, that way, it'll be easier for you to have children." "Aunt Lu, I'm on a diet." Ahem, someone was coughing. Aunt Lu then realized that Xiao Yunyun had heard something she didn't like. "Oh, I wasn't talking about you. You're pregnant, so it's natural to gain weight. Once you give birth and the child is raised by Yining, you can lose weight however you like." How ridiculous. Did they think I'd agreed to be the fallback? Did they think that just because the two families' elders had discussed it, my consent wasn't needed? "Aunt Lu, I'm busy with work, I don't have time to raise a child." Aunt Lu looked at Jian Mingjie. "I have plenty of time, I can take care of it." My dear husband was afraid of upsetting Xiao Yunyun's mother. "You have plenty of time, but you're my husband. If you keep staring at Xiao Yunyun's child, aren't you afraid the child's father will come looking for trouble with you?" "You, Wu Yin, what nonsense are you talking about? I think you're just looking for a fight with me, aren't you?" "Oh, that's true. How can you be so clever, Wu Yin? Since you can't have children yourself, why don't you want my child?" Xiao Yunyun asked righteously while eating potato chips. "I'm seriously about to throw up. Whether I have children or not is my own business. Even if I don't, why should I raise yours?" "What are you saying? You're nothing but a barren hen. Are you trying to make Jian Mingjie's line die out? Who else would want someone like you besides him?" Aunt Lu gently patted her. "Yunyun, say less." Yining and Mingjie fell in love freely. She can't bear to leave him, so what if it was free love? How many child-free people don't regret it when they're old? And she looks down on my child. If she's so capable, she should have won herself. Yining, just agree. Your father, me, and Mingjie are all hoping for a grandchild. Yunyun is someone we know well, and the child will grow up to honor you. My in-laws stood in the living room, brainwashing me one after another. The moment I nodded, they'd probably set off fireworks to celebrate the next second. In my past life, I agreed quickly enough, but later, from prenatal checkups to postpartum confinement and childcare, I had to handle everything alone. I said I wanted to hire a nanny, but my mother-in-law insisted that the child was still young and needed to bond with me more, until I started experiencing abdominal pain and bleeding during that time, and just like that, the child was gone. It's settled. Yining, once Yunyun's child is born, we'll bring it home. My good husband made the decision, but it sounded more like a notification to me. I pursed my lips slightly, turned around, and put on my shoes. "Wu Yin, where are you going?" "It's suffocating at home. I'm going out for a walk." Just looking at those people made my heart feel stifled. As soon as I got downstairs, I turned off my phone and went straight back to my parents' house. After being reborn, seeing my parents again, my tears fell like broken beads. In my previous life, after I died, I had no idea how they were doing. It must have been heartbreaking, raising someone else's child as their own daughter, only to see her die a miserable death. The family assets were smoothly inherited by them. Jian Mingjie married Xiao Yunyun, and the two ungrateful wretches returned to their biological parents. Their family of 4 was finally reunited, cursing me for causing the separation of their mother and children. While shamelessly enjoying the fortune I had built, Mom wiped the tears from my face. "Yining, what's wrong? Did Mingjie bully you?" I shook my head. "I just missed you, Mom. Can I stay home for a couple more days?" Normally, Jian Mingjie and I were inseparable, but now that I had come back to my parents' house alone, they naturally suspected something was up. Is it a quarrel with Mingjie, or is it about the children? Children. After so many years of marriage, this topic almost always comes up. My parents are open-minded and have never pressured us about having children, but my in-laws can't wait to tell everyone I've been married for 4 years without getting pregnant. Even the breakfast stall owner in our neighborhood knows that their daughter-in-law is infertile. If it were their own daughter, would they let her be talked about like this everywhere? Even Xiao Yunyun, they would protect her, wouldn't they? Father let out a sigh. "You're still young now. Some people don't have kids until their 40s. And you're only 28, Yining, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Actually, I wasn't too keen on it when you two got married. It's not that I looked down on his family background, but they didn't contribute a single cent. Since ancient times, the groom's family is supposed to offer a bride price. We gave a dowry of 2 apartments and a car, and they just moved straight into the new house. Who wouldn't want such a bargain of a daughter-in-law? People say that when a woman asks for nothing in marriage, she ends up being looked down upon because it's cheap. On the other hand, those who demanded a bride price, a house, and a car, out of consideration for sunk costs, would at least grit their teeth and not treat their wives too badly. And me, I was so blinded by love that I dragged my parents into suffering along with me. If he treats you well, then it's fine. Anyway, no matter what decision you make, mom and dad will support you. I thought that since Jian Mingjie and I were deeply in love, my parents would be relieved. I thought my marriage was happy and fulfilling, but little did I know, my parents had long seen through everything in my life. I leaned into my mother's arms again, sobbing uncontrollably. In the afternoon, Jian Mingjie made a phone call to my dad's phone. As soon as I picked up, I was met with a torrent of scolding. Wu Yin, you've grown quite capable, huh, running off without a word. Don't you know today is family day? Do you even want this family anymore? The elders are all waiting for you. Where's your manners? Why aren't you saying anything? Cat got your tongue. Tell me, is it really that hard for you to accept Yunyan's child? If you had a child of your own, we wouldn't be in this situation, but you don't, so why can't you just go along with it? And on top of that, you gave Aunt Lu and my parents the cold shoulder. Is this how the Wu family raises their daughters? Do you even have any respect for my family and me? He just kept rattling on, as if I had committed murder or arson. Jian Mingjie, do you even hear yourself talking? You're forcing me to raise another man's child. If you can't stand that I'm infertile, just find someone who can give you kids. I'm not stopping you. Why does he have to be so overbearing, forcing me to accept this? If I don't accept him, he won't let me have a moment's peace. Why should I let him push me around? He was about to roar again on the other end, but I just hung up. Any more pointless words with him, and I'd have a heart attack from rage. I knew the Jian family must be in an uproar right now. The 3 elders, plus Jian Mingjie and Xiao Yunyun, they're probably cursing my ancestors back to the Stone Age. The 2 families had teamed up to pressure me into giving in, but maybe they never expected my reaction to be so fierce, far beyond what they imagined. Before, I used to follow Jian Mingjie, my husband, obediently. A few sweet words from him would make me nod in agreement. I don't have children, so accepting Xiao Yunyan's child seemed only natural. It was practically a foregone conclusion. It would cover up the affair between Xiao Yunyun and him, smoothly take over my family's assets, and even gift them a pair of adorable children, a picture of maternal kindness and filial piety, enjoying the best of both worlds, wealthy, leisurely, with both a son and a daughter. Such a beautiful plan, yet it stumbled simply because I refused to agree. I was nothing but an unreasonable troublemaker who disrupted the harmony. I bet by now, that whole house full of people is starting a new round of scheming. I'm enjoying my stay at my parents' home, soaking up their care every day, and shutting my ears to all the annoying troubles. Jian Mingjie didn't come looking for me on his own either, but I did receive an invitation from an old friend. Across the dining table sat Ning Yi, a mutual acquaintance from our university days. He was Jian Mingjie's roommate and would sometimes join us for gatherings. Later, for some unknown reason, we rarely saw him anymore. The last time we heard from him was on our wedding day, when he sent us a blessing. May all your wishes come true, along with a generous red envelope, a 5-figure sum. I was still thinking, he and Jian Mingjie weren't that close, so why go to such expense? When I saw him again, I never expected that he would be the one to reach out to me. You saw it? I asked directly. Yeah, at the most famous postpartum care center in the city, so he was up to some tricks after all. I thought you 2 were happy. Just 2 weeks ago, I thought I was happy too. That's how people are. When everything is going smoothly, they're very good at deceiving themselves. Yet I forgot that people's hearts are fickle. Is your wife in confinement? He snorted, nearly choking on his coffee. That's my sister. I'm not married yet. Why aren't you married? I blurted out. He frowned and tapped the table. Classmate Wu Yin, why didn't you apply to Tsinghua University? I don't like it. What a coincidence. Me too. Suddenly, we looked at each other and smiled. The gloom in my heart was dispelled a little by this laugh. When I learned that Jian Mingjie and the others were choosing a postpartum care center, I felt nothing much. I guess they had already picked one and were just waiting for me to go and pay the bill. I kept my composure, still eating well and sleeping well every day. I didn't call him even once for several days in a row. Finally, my mother-in-law couldn't help but call my mom. They tried to sound me out indirectly, but my mom played dumb. I can't really say what's on my mind. I've been busy every day, coming home late, and not running into anyone. In-laws, we know Inin has a bad temper. Mingjie has been spoiling her for years, can't she just give in a little? We've never complained about her not having children all these years, why can't she understand the hardships we, as elders, have gone through? Complain. What right do you have to complain about our Yinin? Maybe it's you're Jian Mingjie who has the problem. Why don't you say that? That's impossible. Our Mingjie has already what? My mother-in-law was left speechless. My mother had been holding in a belly full of anger for all these years. Before, it was because she saw that my heart was set on Jian Mingjie, but now that I've come to my senses, she can finally let it all out. But, Wu Yin doesn't respect us elders. Are we not even allowed to say anything about it? Mingjie's mom, Yinin, has been married to him for so many years, buying one house after another. Was that all thanks to your son? How can you say that? This is called joint marital property, and Mingjie has certainly contributed to it as well. But that doesn't mean you're always right. There are plenty of people in society who don't have kids. You can go find someone who can have them. There's no point in continuing this conversation. My mother-in-law quickly hung up the phone. People need face like a tree needs bark, but there are so many who don't know how to spell the word shame. On one hand, they despise me for not being able to have children. On the other, they can't bear to let go of my money. They want it both ways, but I'll make sure they get nothing. Sure enough, his damn strategy didn't work. Jian Mingjie came to me on his own. He first called me, saying that if I apologized to his parents, Aunt Lu, and Xiao Yunyun, he would forgive me. I was so angry I laughed at that moment. Does Jian Mingjie still think I'm that silly girl who would revolve around him and be the first to bow my head whenever we had a conflict? The Wu Yin from the previous life was already killed by him. The current Wu Yin is of the Neohuru clan. Jian Mingjie, are you out of your mind? Why should I apologize? Your whole family forced me to raise someone else's child, and when I refused, you gave me the cold shoulder. I've already told you that if you can't stand me being infertile, we can get a divorce. Who's stopping you? In my past life, I must have been on some crazy pills to have devoted my whole heart to him. That scumbag didn't pay a single cent for the bride price or the house, got a cheap wife like me for free, brought in my own assets, and still had his whole family morally blackmailing me into raising someone else's child. He was spoiled by me to the point of not knowing his place, using my infertility to brainwash me into feeling inferior, willingly letting him have complete control over me. What did you say? Wu Yin, I'm giving you a chance here. Don't push your luck. If you just apologize, we can put this behind us. Psycho. I hung up the phone. Silence at last. 2 days later, seeing that I wasn't joking, Jian Mingjie grew restless. When it was time to get off work, he came to my office voluntarily, holding a bouquet of Freud roses in his hands. Along the way, he greeted the young ladies in the office, and the girls covered their mouths, giggling. Wow, President Wu, you're so lucky. After so many years of marriage, your husband is still this romantic. Jian Mingjie walked up to my desk. Yinin, I'm here to pick you up from work. It was as if the unpleasantness before had never happened. I took the bouquet of flowers. They were quite pretty, but somehow, in his presence, they seemed a lot less classy. Yinin, I booked a table at the restaurant, the one you like the most. Along the way, he kept secretly observing my expression. From the time we started dating to all these years of marriage, he's always been good at reading people, which is one of the reasons he could easily manipulate my emotions and make me devoted to him. Did you come to me because you have something to discuss? Nothing much. That unpleasantness at my parents' house last time. Are you still mad at me? No, it's all in the past. I know you want a child, and I've been neglecting your feelings all these years. His expression immediately relaxed, and he placed his hand over mine. Yinin, I knew you'd be reasonable, after all these years together. Don't I know exactly what kind of person you are? Of course he knew. He had me completely figured out as someone ruled by love. After dinner, for the first time in a long while, he offered to take a walk with me along the river. Come to think of it, it had been years since we last took a walk together like this. A few stars twinkled in the sky. Thinking back on all the years I had wasted my true feelings on the wrong person, I suddenly felt that those years had been so unworthy. Yinin, Xiao Union is about to give birth. We've picked out a postpartum care center. It costs 200,000 for 2 months. You see, 2 months in a postpartum care center. How extravagant. I wonder who gave them the courage and confidence to even suggest it. 200,000. That's not much either. What's the matter? He swallowed hard and hesitated for a moment. It's not much, but you know their situation. They can't afford a postpartum care center. So my mom said we should cover it first. Sure, just write an IOU first. He didn't expect me to agree so readily, but it took him only a second to catch on. His face changed color. What did you say? What IOU? Of course you need to write an IOU when borrowing money. You don't expect me to just pay out of pocket, do you? No, I mean, my mom said we should cover it first, and she'll pay us back when she has the money. I let out a cold laugh. Scammers know that to get you to part with your money, they have to cater to your interests and make you think there's a bargain to be had. Jian Mingjia, was all talk, trying to get something for nothing. She has to take care of 2 kids on her own. When will she ever earn 200,000 to pay me back? With no means to afford it, why go to a postpartum center? Jian Mingjia stared at me like I was a monster. You, he stammered, you for a long time without getting anywhere. Wu Yin, are you still the Wu Yin I know? How can you be so cold-blooded? She's a single mother. It's not easy for her. I laughed. Just because it's not easy for her, I have to foot the bill. There are so many people in this world who have it tough. Can I pity them all, wanting my money so brazenly, as if it's their due? They're practically reaching out to snatch it. Last time at his place, Xiao Yunyun called me a hen that can't lay eggs, and his whole family just listened. Who said a single word for me? Jian Mingjia softened his tone. You know I only have that little money each month. Can't I just borrow it from you? Sure. Write an IOU first. Regarding the borrowing of money, I didn't outright refuse, nor did I object. You can't push things too far, otherwise, how would I get to watch the show? Jian Mingjia no longer dares to boss me around like before. If he offends me, I won't fork out a single cent, and it's him who stands to lose. I won't be as obedient to him as I used to be, putting him first in everything. He wasn't stupid, so he could naturally feel it. I don't know how he went back to discuss it with them. In any case, the IOU was written, but it was done. Reluctantly, the way Xiao Yunyun looked at me again was as if she wanted to gouge me out. If looks could kill. At the dinner table, the atmosphere was strange. My in-laws didn't bring up the matter of me adopting a child again, and Aunt Lu hadn't even glanced at me since I sat down. Only Jian Mingjia spoke coldly. There's only a little over a month left until Yunyun gives birth. I think we should move to Mom and Dad's place to make it easier to take care of her. This was said to me. I nodded and continued eating my food. It's only right, after all. It's not easy for her to carry a child alone. Everyone was stunned, as if they couldn't believe those words came out of my mouth. After all, the IOU had just been written. They used to think I was docile, blurting out whatever was on their minds without caring whether I could handle it. Now that I've shown my claws, they dare not say a word. People, they're really pathetic. But everyone's hearts tightened again. But you can move back alone, right? I don't have to, do I? Why, you should also do your part in taking care of Yunyun. Jian Mingjia frowned, as if scolding. I looked him straight in the eyes. Mingjia, are you okay? It's not my child, so why should I do my part? You, Wu Yin, you're an ungrateful wretch. With a bang, Xiao Yunyun across the table flew into a rage. She hurled the bowl in her hand to the ground with force. You can't stand me. And you're just jealous because Mingjia takes care of me, aren't you? If you've got the guts, have your own kids instead of running your mouth. I can get pregnant with 2 at once, but you can't even have one. You're a baron. Smack. The dishes in front of me were also swept to the floor. Who can't throw a tantrum these days? The more well-mannered you are, the more you get bullied. Xiao Yunyun, don't you brush your teeth every day? I can smell your bad breath even from this far away. You bitch. She sat there, gasping for breath, as several people gathered around her. Some poured her water, others patted her chest to soothe her. What a lively scene. In my past life, I never talked back to her like this. Turns out, it feels amazing. Jian Mingjia glared at me. Wu Yin, Yunyun is pregnant. How can you provoke her like this? You were deaf when she was cursing me out. Why don't you just be her husband instead? I stood up and pulled the IOU out of my pocket. Since you don't want the money anyway, I'll save it. With that, I tore up the IOU, slung my bag over my shoulder, and walked out the door. Xiao Yunyun thinks she's tough, she stole my husband and still expects me to pay for her maternity confinement. Those 2 leeches picked the most expensive package at the best maternity center in the city. If they want my money, they should at least behave. They have no manners, spewing foul language at every turn. With that attitude, she still expects me to be the fool footing the bill. I wonder if she's the stupid one or I am. I've already been foolish in my past life, and I won't be again. Someone was chasing after me from behind. Just as he was about to catch up, I quickly darted into a taxi by the roadside. Driver, let's go. Wu Yin, the money my ass. If you're so obsessed with money, go earn it yourself. A whole family bullying your wife, and you want to use her money to support your mistress and child. You're the ultimate scumbag among scumbags. Not long after, I overheard another shocking secret. That day, I came home from work and opened the door to find 2 huge suitcases. I thought it was Jian Mingjie getting ready to move in, but then I heard voices coming from my master bedroom. Stop crying, it's all my fault. If I could earn more, you wouldn't have to put up with her. It was Jian Mingjie's voice. How could this be your fault? She can't have kids herself, and she doesn't even want mine. Does she think she's too good for that? I told you long ago to transfer all her assets into your name. How far have you gotten with that? Xiao Yunyun acted bossily. My heart turned cold as I switched on the voice recorder and pricked up my ears. I've been trying, haven't I? Yunyun, you know the wuss, they're a business family, sharp as can be. When I suggested selling her pre-marriage apartment to trade up for a bigger one, her parents wouldn't agree. And you still say that? It's all because you're useless. What are her parents? Doesn't she listen to everything you say? I've put up with this for so many years. I gave up the person I love most to her, and I become a role that can't be seen in the light, unable to have a normal relationship with you. Why? What does she have that's better than me, aside from a bit of money? Yes, you're right. I know I put you through a lot, but back then, wasn't it you who said she came from a good family and was naive and easy to fool? That's why I went after her in the first place. Don't worry, for your sake and the sake of your children, I will never allow you to remain like this without any recognition or status. Once I get my hands on the property, I'll file for divorce. I stepped back and covered my mouth. This pair of dogs and bitches. I thought they got together because I couldn't have children, but it turns out even their pursuit of me back then was all part of their scheme in this three-person roleplay. I'm just an NPC. The hatred surged within me. If it weren't for revenge, I would rush in and kill them right now. I told you to pursue her, but I never said you should actually fall for her, and you even married her. Are you telling me you can't let her go? I swear I didn't. She's the one who loves me like crazy. Yunyun, you know as well as I do that with my salary alone, there's no way we could have afforded that prime location apartment for you and your mom, and your daily expenses. Could they have been covered without her money? Alright, these are all excuses. She hasn't gotten pregnant all these years. She hasn't figured out that we were the ones pulling the strings, has she? Tampered with? I was thunderstruck. No, in the first 2 years of our marriage, she was busy with her career. Later, she got used to drinking the milk I had added birth control pills to. Birth control pills, milk. I stood frozen, as if struck by lightning. It turns out that every detail I thought was a sign of our loving marriage, the glass of milk he gave me every night before bed, had long been laced with medicine. He never wanted me to have his child. I got pregnant because of that time I spilled my milk, and Jian Mingjie didn't know. I caressed my lower belly and left that suffocating home. Walking down the street, watching the bustling crowds, I suddenly found myself at a loss for where to go, recalling the events of my past life, everything in my mind connected, and suddenly it all became clear. They drugged me to make me infertile, then shifted the blame onto me, gaslighting me into accepting Xiao Yunyun's child, work hard to earn money to support their whole family. As for the child I lost from exhaustion, they probably found out about that too. Jian Mingjie already has a son and a daughter of his own. How could he want the child of this robot servant like me? So, the child was lost, and I had even less hope. I could only resign myself to slaving away for his family for nearly a decade. My relationship with Jian Mingjie was built entirely on lies and deceit. I want to kill that scumbag and that shameless woman, but I also feel nothing but sorrow for myself. If I had been more clear-headed in my past life, not relied on him so much, and not trusted his love so blindly, how could I have ended up being schemed against to the point of losing my life? Thinking back over the years of treatment, my cousin, who was the head of the gynecology department, reminded me to watch my diet and consider whether there might be any conflicting foods. She had worked in obstetrics and gynecology for many years and had seen far too many cases and all kinds of dramatic stories. Inin, while you should never harbor malicious intent, you must always guard against it. How many times greater is your family's wealth compared to theirs? Have you ever thought about that? How did I answer at that time? I said I believed him. We were each other's first love. What could be more pure and precious than that? He was only 20 when he met me. At that innocent age, what ill intentions could he possibly have? I'm in a better financial position, and his family is less well off. I'm willing to spend money on him. It's because of my own physical condition. I can't shift the blame onto others. See, I'm so considerate, always thinking about what's best for him. And what happened? She only targeted me because I was naive and easy to fool, and she led me around by the nose. Suddenly, a call came in. It was Ning Yi across the table. He looked utterly astonished. You look terrible. When you were sitting by the flower bed, I thought you'd been robbed. A woman who looks utterly lost and dejected must have either lost love or lost her way. If something had been taken from her, she would be hysterical. Instead, I gave a wry smile. Sorry you had to see that. These past 10 years, I've turned myself into a joke. They're ganging up on you. A wave of bitterness washed over me again. Ningyi's hand, resting on the table, was covered with bulging veins. When he was pursuing you, he was already entangled with that neighbor girl he grew up with. It seems I'm the only fool. Why didn't you say that back then? Ningyi sighed, as if he didn't know how to comfort me back then. Even if someone had told me that Jian Mingjie was unreliable and had a sister with ambiguous feelings around him, would I have believed it? I wasn't blind. I had my own judgment. Yet I still ended up in a trap, didn't I? Do you know why I stopped associating with him later? Why? I was the one who took that photo of you in the library. He stole it and posted it on the confession wall. Because of that, the two of them got into a big fight. I'm at a loss for words. Today, I've received too many truths, and I can't even process the shock all at once. Jian Mingjie pursued me, but from start to finish, it was a script he and Xiao Yunyan staged together, deceiving my true feelings. Later, you fell in love, and I could only watch from afar, but when you got married, my blessings were genuine. No wonder he couldn't wait to tell me the day I saw them booking the maternity center. I really don't want you to keep being fooled. I don't want to keep being foolish either. Never again. Gently wiping the corner of my eyes. When you get married someday, I'll send you a big red envelope, definitely more than his 5-figure sum. Ningyi finally let out what had been buried in his heart for years, and he instantly felt relieved. No need for that. What are you planning to do? Of course, make them pay the price. That night, I didn't go back. I was thinking about what I should do next. Jian Mingjie called me every other day. Woo. Ian, I need to tell you something. I brought Yunyun to my place. We'll take care of her together from now on. You don't have a problem with that, do you? Ha. Act first and report later. He's always been good at that trick. Those 2 big boxes turned out to be Xiao Yunyun's. He couldn't bear to let his childhood sweetheart suffer. Why would I have any objections? They've been putting on an act for so many years. Must be exhausting, right? No. You should get ready. Go to the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. He was stunned for a long moment. What for? Divorce? You? What do you mean? Wu Yin, I just turned off my phone. I figured he was probably completely dumbfounded out of the blue. Why did I, the big fool, suddenly bring up divorce? Was it because their recent antics disgusted me? No way. I love him so much. How could I bear to leave him? That day, Jian Mingjie followed me to my parents' house, carrying a fruit basket that was clearly something someone had given them and they couldn't finish. I used to think he was filial, bringing big and small gifts to my house, but thinking back, weren't they all gifts from my clients? He was just taking credit for someone else's generosity. Mom and Dad, I'm here to take Ian home. My parents went straight to the bedroom without even giving him a glance. Jian Mingjie had never seen them act like this, and his face immediately turned sour. I've endured so many cold stares like that in his home, yet he couldn't take it even once. Wu Yin. Did you drink too much yesterday? What nonsense are you talking about? Tomorrow at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Don't keep me waiting, he exploded, throwing down the fruit basket in his hand. Have you lost your mind? Why do you suddenly want a divorce? I looked at his hypocritical face and wondered how I never noticed before that every fake smile of his hid impatience facing someone who liked him. He showed no affection at all for so many years. A man like this is terrifyingly selfish. Whoever ends up with him is doomed. You're busy taking care of your godsister's childbirth. Do you even remember who your wife is? You, Yunyun. She's a single mother. It's not easy for her. I've heard that line so many times it's worn out. Mingjie Jian, have I been giving you too much face all along, making you forget your place? Are you really going to be this unreasonable? If you're not at the Civil Affairs Bureau by tomorrow, I'll take it to court. You decide for yourself. With that, I went back to my room. I didn't open the door until I heard the front door slam shut. I knew he was going back, and his whole family would gather again to come up with a plan. The next day, I didn't go to the Civil Affairs Bureau. Why? Because I knew he wouldn't show up anyway. Right now, his family must be calculating how much property we have under our names, how much in stocks and funds in our accounts, and the balance in our savings. I wasn't about to sit around and wait for things to fall apart, so I sent a video over directly. Jian Mingjie, are you waiting for me to file a lawsuit or do you want a quick divorce? Otherwise, we'll see about that. He didn't expect me to have evidence in hand. As for the content of the video, it was certainly explosive. Since my rebirth, I hadn't been idle. I had simply installed devices in key spots, and the evidence obtained from my own home could be fully used as court evidence. It was a rather steamy story clip, with the main characters being him and his childhood sweetheart. Sure enough, Jian Mingjie called me soon after. Inin, you've misunderstood. Yun Yun and I had too much to drink that day. Shut up. Do you think I'm blind or stupid? Jian Mingjie, I have more than just this. Do you want everyone to know who the father of Xiao Yunyun's child is? He had nothing to say. Faced with such a situation, he had to divorce whether he wanted to or not. The next day was the scheduled time for us to register for divorce. During this period, I rejected any explanations or gestures of goodwill from the Jian family. His parents came to my house humbly, trying to persuade me to give up on the divorce by throwing a tantrum, crying, making a scene, and even threatening suicide. They said Jian Mingjie had only gotten together with Xiao Yunyun in a moment of confusion. The one he truly loved in his heart was still me. After all these years, could I really let go? My parents called the police directly. The officers took them away for questioning, and only then did they stop. That night, on my way home, a car ahead suddenly veered out of control and rushed toward me. The headlights blinded me, and I lost my sense of direction. When I woke up again, my parents were holding my hands. Inin, the baby is gone, my poor child, the one I had hoped so desperately to save. Perhaps he sensed he wasn't welcome by his father. Or maybe it was because I had neglected to manage my emotions and health during this time. My child chose to leave. Tears streamed down my face. My mother kept wiping my tears. Inin, my good child, don't cry. You'll have your own children again. Who was it? The culprit, Xiao Yunyun, was caught. But what could you do to a pregnant woman with a big belly? She insisted it wasn't intentional, claiming she felt unwell and accidentally stepped on the gas, and just like that, my child was gone. When my cousin heard the news, she said, "It's for the best." How good could the genes of a scumbag be? This might not be a misfortune, but as a mother, after longing for a child for so many years, it would be a lie to say I wasn't heartbroken when I lost it. Ning Yi, as my legal representative, presented the divorce agreement to Jian Mingjie. Yes, he is a lawyer at a prestigious law firm in the city. I was lucky to get him, that former classmate and roommate, meeting again, only to find ourselves in this situation. Humph, it's you, after all these years. You still can't get over her, Ning Yi sneered. Old classmate, think about everything you've done over the years. From the very beginning, you were deceiving her. You don't deserve to be the father of her child, so, you two have been in cahoots all along. We're not as shameless as you. Regarding the divorce agreement, out of the 4 properties, 2 were dowries from my family. Those were purchased before marriage, so he basically can't take them. The 2 bought after marriage, plus his parents' property, make 3 that count as joint marital assets. There are 2 cars. The bank balance is only a few $100,000. I've already used the rest to buy insurance. When Jian Mingjie found out, he went crazy and said he would sue me for deliberately transferring marital assets. I'm afraid he was raised on brain damage pills. I countered with evidence of his extramarital affairs and proof that he and Xiao Yunyun have been living together as a married couple in another city. Not to mention that he drugged me to make me infertile, and Xiao Yunyun caused me to lose my child. If I pursue charges of intentional harm, none of them will get away with it. I have both witnesses and evidence. If this goes to court, bigamy alone would carry a sentence of 1 to 2 years. It just depends on whether he wants to keep his assets or spend his time sewing in prison. Before signing, he asked to see me. Seeing the man in front of me again, he had long lost his former high spirits. Before, with my money supporting him, he walked with a swagger, tall and handsome, turning heads wherever he went. Now, his face was sallow, his hair looked like it hadn't been washed in days, and his coat was wrinkled. This was unlike him. Are you satisfied now? Which one do you mean, that you and Xiao Yunyun teamed up to pursue me and scheme for my family's assets, or that I've slaved away for your family all these years, only to be left infertile by you? A pained expression appeared on his face, tinged with a hint of guilt. How strange. I didn't mean for this to happen, really. Jian Jiaming, when your parents looked down on me for not being able to have children, you had nothing and married me. I gave my all to you and your family, while you and Xiao Yunyun played me for a fool. In the dead of night, have you ever felt a pang of conscience? He covered his face. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were pregnant too. Crocodile tears are really unnecessary. Drugging my milk, putting me through years of immense physical and mental suffering. Can a simple I'm sorry from him really make up for that? Besides, he hasn't truly repented. What he regrets is that his final scheme came to nothing. I won't ask him if he ever loved me. Only a fool would ask such a stupid question knowing it was deception. How could there be love? Having love from a scumbag like him would only send chills down my spine. Let him and that bitch Xiao Yunyun stay locked together forever, and stop ruining others' lives. He signed the agreement to leave with nothing. 1 month later, that is, on the day Xiao Yunyun gave birth, we Officially got our divorce certificate at the Civil Affairs Bureau then. Ning Yi filed a lawsuit, suing for all the expenses he had spent on his mistress Xiao Yunyun during their extramarital affair. He thought I couldn't find the evidence, and that the divorce would be the end of it. How could that be? In my past life, I lost my life for him and supported his entire family for years. My youth, my efforts, my life. Were they worth nothing when Xiao Yunyun learned that I was suing to take back everything in her hands? She, who had just given birth, fainted again. I have to say, with the help of the great lawyer Ning Yi, fighting this divorce case was twice the result with half the effort. Finding evidence, pulling bank statements, and gathering witness testimony took quite a bit of time. He was more dedicated than most lawyers you hire for money. He was putting his whole heart into helping me. I was deeply moved. But it was only that, moved. My mother-in-law's house wasn't taken back, and even if it were, I wouldn't want it. They pooled together their life savings to make up the compensation payment for me. The house of their neighbor, Xiao Yunyun's mother, was also secretly funded by my ex-husband, Jian Mingjie, to repay me. They sold their house and moved directly into my in-laws' home, merging two families into one. With the addition of the newborn twins, the three-bedroom apartment became incredibly lively. It was as crowded as it could possibly be. Xiao Yunyun's international brands, jewelry, and bags were all sold out or discarded. We've been married for 4 years, and she sold everything she had and couldn't even repay the money she had spent extravagantly during the 4 years of our marriage. Jian Mingjie spent several million yuan on her. Fortunately, the lawsuit is in the invalid period, so I can wait. If I'm in a bad mood one day, I'll apply for compulsory execution. If her execution is not possible, I'll execute her husband's assets for the rest of my life. Jian Mingjie will have to work for me. By the way, shortly after our divorce, they got their marriage certificate. After all, the child was already born, so they had to give the kid a complete family, right? The pair of them, a couple who had been loving each other 4 years, could finally be open and aboveboard in the sunlight. I should be sending them my blessings. However, a new mother who had just finished her month of postpartum confinement looked haggard and bloated. On top of that, since her confinement hadn't gone well, she was constantly quarreling with Jian Mingjie at home. As for getting married, they had only registered their marriage. They hadn't even held a wedding banquet, let alone anything else. Xiao Yunyun was suffering from postpartum depression when he received my blessing text. Jian Mingjie even called me, but I immediately hung up. Are you crazy? Don't you understand sarcasm? For the rest of my life, I don't want to see either of them again. Letting them die would be too easy for them. I just want to see how this loving couple gets along without the cushion of money, how they'll go from loving each other to resenting each other, eventually ending up as lifelong bitter enemies in a mess. Divorce. A pair of twins, two families merged into one, bound together since childhood, with such a deep connection. Divorce isn't that easy. I'm happy to watch their poor, happy family life. It must be full of joy and harmony. Just when I thought we'd never cross paths again in this lifetime, Jian Mingjie suddenly came looking for me that day. He stood downstairs at my company. In the past, he would have taken the initiative to come up and show off our love in front of my employees. Now, seeing his timid and dejected expression, I can hardly remember how I ever fell for this person in the first place. Enin, do you need something? His eyes suddenly glistened with tears, as if he had been wronged. My mood instantly soured. I'm short on time. If you don't mind, I can call Xiao Yunyun and have her take you back. His face changed at the mention of Xiao Yunyun. No, Enin, don't call. I'll just say a few words and leave. I'm sorry, I was a jerk before. I shouldn't have listened to her and used your feelings. I regret it so much now. Really, more like regretting not having the money to enjoy a good life. Right? Aren't you afraid that saying this will hurt Xiao Yunyun's feelings? I don't care what she thinks. She's a selfish bitch. I should never have listened to her in the first place. This is all my karma. I deserve it, I really do. He crouched on the ground, sobbing with his head in his hands in front of the luxurious office building. Such a scene was indeed an eyesore. I patted him on the shoulder. If you're not embarrassed, I am. Can't you act like a man? Weren't they supposed to be so in love? And now he's treating me like a trash can. He rambled on and on about his married life with Xiao Yunyun. She fell into depression during her postpartum confinement, with both sets of parents and her all together. Money was tight, diapers, formula, living expenses, and twins meant double everything, and every little thing cost money. Without money, not a single day was peaceful. Her parents' pensions weren't much either, and they had to go to the hospital from time to time. Raising kids wasn't just expensive, it was also exhausting for the adults. Xiao Yunyun scolded him for being useless, saying as a man he earned so little, while other husbands made hundreds of thousands or even millions a year. and why didn't he secretly stash away some private money when he was still married to me and those twins, crying and whining every day? Life was a living hell. I used to think I was happy, but now I realize it was all because of you. Eneen, why am I such an idiot? Throwing away a good life just to court disaster. Alright, he's got no one else to talk to, so he's come to dump his garbage on me. I've had enough. I turned around to leave, not wanting to see him for even a minute. Eneen, don't go. Are you disgusted with me? We were so good together before, you loved me so much. Can't you really forgive me? I can divorce her. I don't even want the kids. Can we start over? Just the two of us. I looked at hing like he was an idiot. Jianming Jia, I find you dirty. Coming toward me. Ningyi approached. What's he doing here? Still trying to pester you, of course. I used to be his biggest sucker of a wife, devoted to him heart and soul, supporting his family and his mistress's family. Where in the world could you find a wife like me? The moment he hit rock bottom, he thought of me, his unlucky ex-wife. Maybe if he shed a few tears, my sympathy would overflow and I'd transfer some money over. After all, a man's tear can act its way into breaking your heart in the past life. That fool Wu Yin might have fallen for it. When there's love, it's easy to be manipulated. Without love, you're carefree. Eneen, no one else in this world would want you but me. Don't think he truly likes you. It's just his unwillingness. Behind her came Jianmingjia's voice. Ningyi gritted his teeth. Wait for me. I'll beat him to death. Don't. You're a legal professional, and right now he's desperate for money. He held back again and again. Jianmingjia, look at yourself. What do you have to compare with me? Do you have a house or a car? What makes you think Wu Yin should choose you? Just because of your glib tongue. The wind by the river felt pleasant on the face. My heart, too, felt peaceful and serene. I am very satisfied with my life now. No more of the previous anxiety over gains and losses, nor the restless unease of grasping at nothing. Ningyi kept asking questions the whole way. Haven't you made up your mind yet? Can't you give me a definite answer? I used to be love blind, and my true feelings were wasted. In life, who can guarantee they won't meet the wrong person? I'm remarried and can't have children. I'm single and older. And people say there's something wrong with my body, so, do you have it or not? He leaned close to my ear. Why don't you give it a try? Get lost. I remembered that after the collision, Xia Yunyun came to see me alone, saying she had heard about my situation from a classmate. My classmates say I'm good-looking and come from a well-off family with several companies, making me a typical rich, beautiful, and only daughter. Jianmingjia happened to be from the same school as me, but both of their families were ordinary households. Even if you land a good job, don't expect it to change your fate. So they egged Jianmingjia on, urging him to take a gamble, go big or go home. Just perfect. Ningyi has feelings for me, but he's been keeping them to himself, too afraid to confess. After Jianmingjia found out, he took advantage of the moment when he wasn't paying attention to steal the photo of me that he had taken, and smoothly succeeded in winning my affection. So, if we talk about fate, it was clearly him who liked me first. But someone with ulterior motives took advantage of it, causing us to miss each other. Wu Yin, we've already missed so many years. Why are you still hesitating? Because I'm afraid that if I trust love again, I'll end up losing everything once more. Women are always the ones who get hurt easily in relationships. I've tried it, and it hurt too much. I can swear that if I break my promise, I'll come to a bad end. I pulled his hand down. Don't talk nonsense. Spit it out, spit it out. You care about me. He held my hand tightly in return. I don't want innocent people to suffer. Wu Yin, don't be like this. I'll help you let down your guard, even if it's for your own sake. Give it a try. Okay. Ningyi and I got married. Yes, I agreed to give it a try with him. At first, I planned not to get the marriage certificate, but later, I was moved by his sincerity. All of his premarital assets, 3 apartments, 2 cars, including his savings, were all transferred to my name, with a note stating it was a voluntary gift. He told me, I've been waiting for this moment for years. Wu Yin, money can be earned, but a soulmate who truly understands you is rare and hard to find. These were things I had never experienced with my ex-husband. With Jianmingjia, he only knew how to take, and I gave unconditionally until I was left battered and bruised. Even losing my life with Ningyi, he gives unconditionally, and I am the one who receives. If this doesn't prove his sincerity, then wouldn't I be too picky? So, we got our marriage certificate. All our relatives and friends came to bless me, and a year after marriage, I successfully became pregnant with our baby Ningyi, and I have a soft, adorable daughter with little dimples on her cheeks. She is the apple of our eye. Ningyi often stares at her cute little face in a daze. I wonder which brat will be lucky enough to have her in the future. I said he was worrying too early, and he said that's how fathers of daughters are. By the way, I also ran into my ex-husband, Jian Mingjie, and his family. Xiao Yunyun had gained weight after giving birth, and there were stains on her dark dress. She had never returned to her former self, and the acne scars on her face were startling. She had one child in her arms and another by the hand. Jian Mingjie walked ahead while she grumbled behind him, looking every bit a middle-aged woman weighed down by family and children. Her complaints drew the attention of many passers-by on the street. My ex-husband happened to catch a glimpse of me, then quickly lowered his head. Ning Yi, and I opened the door of the Bentley. He was holding our daughter in his arms and even brought the milk tea to my lips. This was in stark contrast to him, who only cared about himself, leaving Xiao Yunyun to handle both children. What are you looking at? Don't think I don't know you're sneaking a peek at your ex-wife. Someone like you, she wouldn't look twice at you. She's after the handsome guy in the luxury car. Jian Mingjie, this is as good as it gets for you. I listened to Xiao Yunyun's nagging, but Jian Mingjie seemed not to hear it, his expression wooden, lost in thought. Perhaps he was very satisfied with his current life. After all, he got what he wanted. I thought I would never have anything to do with my ex-husband's family again, but a few years later, a pair of twins showed up at my door, calling me Mom right away. I was stunned. The violent impact of the car crash sent pain through my body, jolting me awake. These ungrateful brats had also been reborn. Mom, don't you want me and my sister anymore? You're our mom, you can't just abandon us. Yes, Mom, how come you became someone else's mom? We want to live in a big house, ride in a luxury car, and eat fancy meals. Mom, take us there. Looking at the two children before me, I felt a chill run down my spine. Memories of my past life came flooding back like seawater. Like their parents, they were selfish, cold, and heartless. No matter how much you gave them, they took it for granted. The moment you didn't meet their expectations, they would turn around and slander you, gang up with the whole family against you, and guilt-trip you. In my past life, I suffered many hidden losses because of these two ungrateful wretches. To my face, they called me Mom, but behind my back, they conspired with their biological parents, Jian Mingjie and Xiao Yunyun, on how to take advantage of me. They had me all figured out, knowing I had no one else to rely on in my old age except the two of them. Who are you? I don't know you. I tried to talk them out of it. These two ungrateful wretches suddenly knelt on the ground, one on each side, hugging my legs tightly. On the main street, this scene easily made me look like a heartless mother or a child trafficker. Mom, please take us home. We want to go home with you. Don't abandon us, Mom. Among the bustling crowd, some people stopped to look our way. A few sympathetic elderly women and mothers gathered around. What's going on? The kids are crying like this. How can a mother be so cruel? Exactly, young people these days can't raise kids like this. Look how adorable these two are. Just go home already. Once I get home, I won't be able to shake them off. These two little brats are counting on my good upbringing to make me swallow my pride and let things slide. In my past life, that's exactly what I did. Even when I suffered a great injustice, I bore it all alone, letting their family take full advantage of me. Get up, do you hear me? We're not getting up. You are our mom, and you can't just deny us. Helpless, I picked up my phone and dialed the police. I didn't want to argue with these two ingrates, having died at their hands in my past life. The fear and powerlessness I felt made me want to avoid facing them. The police took the two children away for questioning. Even though they insisted I was their mother, I showed them my ID. It was quickly determined that I had absolutely no connection to these twins. Ningyi was still in shock when he came to pick me up. What's going on? Where did these kids come from? They're Jian Mingjie's. It had been so many years since the divorce, and now two kids show up claiming me as their mother. It was utterly bizarre. I couldn't bring myself to say that I had been reborn along with that ungrateful pair. No one would believe such a thing anyway. Only the three of us knew in our hearts what they were after. Even in front of these two children, I couldn't let my guard down or admit that I, too, had been reborn. Sure enough, when their extortion attempt failed, they started pulling other tricks. First, my father-in-law and Aunt Lu, Xiao Yunyun's mother, started a live stream online, claiming that I had schemed to make my ex-husband leave the marriage with nothing. This has led to his family falling apart, with the two children not having enough to eat or wear. A once wealthy family has been schemed out of everything, leaving nothing behind. I forgot to mention that my ex-mother-in-law was pushed down by the two children and suffered a stroke. She has been bedridden for years now. As for my ex-father-in-law, ever since the two families merged into one, he has been messing around with Xiao Yunyun's mother, Aunt Lu. The twilight romance between the two elderly people is passionate and unrestrained, completely ignoring the bedridden old woman. They often flaunt their affection in front of her, driving my ex-mother-in-law half mad with anger, yet she can do nothing about it. As for my ex-husband and Xiao Yunyun, they argue every day, escalating from verbal abuse to physical violence. Each blames the other for being incompetent. Xiao Yunyun curses him for not even being able to hold on to a foolish woman like me, saying he deserves to be poor for life and can't even support his wife and children. After Xiao Yunyun graduated, she didn't even have a proper job and relied entirely on Jian Mingjie for support. Later, she left the marriage with nothing, and now she has to raise 2 children. You can imagine how tough that life is. Unable to bear the burden, Jian Mingjie went to work in another city and sends back a little money each month. Now, those 2 ungrateful wretches have been reborn, and they're coming after me for revenge again. Sure enough, as soon as the livestream started, the 2 children faced the camera and cried pitifully. My sister and I go to the market with our grandparents every day to pick up rotten vegetable leaves that others throw away. When we're sick, we can't afford to see a doctor. We haven't eaten meat in a long time. Our family of 7 lives in this tiny house, and my sister and I don't even have our own desks. We really wish we had a place to do our homework. Woo-woo, Auntie Woo, we know you're watching the screen. Please have mercy on us and give back what belongs to my dad. As she spoke, she even lifted her paralyzed ex-mother-in-law in front of the camera. The old woman's aged face was twisted, her mouth and eyes. Ask you, babbling unintelligibly. Someone on the screen asked, what about your parents? Don't they have jobs? Exactly, why ask his ex-wife for money? Can't he support his own children? My dad works in another city, toiling from dawn to dusk, but he can barely support our family. My mom is in poor health and is recovering from illness. Our family is really struggling. My grandparents' pensions aren't even enough to cover their monthly medication, so my brother and I have to scrimp and save every day. The little girl spoke with tears in her voice, full of emotional impact. Oh dear, how pitiful, a man having to support a family of 7. No one could handle that. There's never a shortage of people overflowing with sympathy in this world. When it comes to the weak, the poor, people always instinctively sympathize with their plight, especially with the 2 kids standing there and the bedridden elderly appearing. You have to admit, they know how to play the algorithm. Netizens generously tipped and, at the same time, criticized me, the heartless ex-wife. During the divorce, I took all the marital assets, leaving my ex-husband with nothing. How could he afford to raise the children with nowhere else to vent? They directed all their anger at me. The 2 children's campaign was very successful. They received encouragement and praise from netizens. Busybodies even dug up information about my company and Ning Yi's workplace, and then launched a collective attack. Ning Yi's and my work were affected, and our company's stock price and reputation also took a hit. For every netizen who sympathized with their family's tragic fate, there was one cursing us. Even our parents were dragged into it. Honey, are you really not going to do anything? Should we go abroad to avoid this? Ning Yi was getting restless. No need, it's not the time yet. Do you think I don't know that this was all planned by those 2 ungrateful brats and Xiao Yunyun? Those 2 kids are just like her. They like to play the strategist behind the scenes. Back when Jian Mingjie was pursuing me, it was Xiao Yunyun who encouraged him. Now, they're making money off online public opinion while venting their dissatisfaction with me. After all, netizens don't care whether the story is true or false. They just jump at any drama. As long as it doesn't happen to them, they're fine with it. When Xiao Yunyun called me, I knew my chance had come. Wu Yin, didn't expect this, did you? After all these years, we finally have a chance to turn things around. Let me ask you, do you dare to go out now? What are you trying to say? Actually, I don't ask for much, just transfer 5 million to my account, and I'll delete the video. What if I say no? Humph, then just wait and see. Do you know how much damage my 2 kids and my paralyzed mother-in-law can do? Online trolls will side with us. They won't care that it was our affair that caused your divorce. In short, you pay up, and this ends here. Otherwise, I'll ruin your reputation. I don't understand, but I know how to record audio. I never intended to harm others, but if someone deliberately targets me, I'm not someone to be easily bullied. Along with the evidence from my divorce, the court verdict, and the recording with Xiao Yunyun, I posted everything online. This time, the public opinion once again exploded. As many people as there were cursing us before. Now the tide has turned completely. Damn, how dare they come asking for money? They'd been divorced for 8 years, cheated during the marriage, got pregnant, gave birth, committed intentional harm, and now they want to extort the ex-wife. What kind of people are they? TSK TSK TSK, they really have no shame. Indeed, there are all kinds of people, even using children as tools to make money. The spearhead of public opinion all turned toward them. The tips were demanded back, and although Xiao Yunyun and her group deactivated their accounts, it couldn't stop the netizens' verbal Abuse. What people hate most are those who are just homewreckers. Xia Yunyan not only had a disgraceful approach but also turned the tables and instigated the children to cause trouble. The ex-husband's family became rats crossing the street, with everyone shouting to beat them. Years later, those ungrateful wretches, having lost me as their cash cow, not only failed to strive for improvement but ended up repeating the same old mistakes in this life. Their son was addicted to drinking, gambling, and whoring, wallowing in all 5 vices, racking up debts everywhere, and ended up in prison for years after killing someone in a gang fight. Their daughter, who had a habit of being a homewrecker, was beaten in the street by the wronged wife and left with a crippled leg. The last time I saw Jian Mingjia, he was hunched over, walking slowly along the old street. The setting sun cast a rather desolate scene. The end. Story 2. Because I'm slow-witted, my grades are not good ever since I was little. Everyone laughed at me for being stupid. Some even said that I might as well stop studying to avoid the ridicule. I could only secretly study in my dormitory bed until 2 or 3 o'clock at night. Starting from a certain day, when I was working hard on exercises in the dead of night, there would always be a hand reaching in, putting a warm rice ball beside me. Welcome to our channel. Awesome love story are waiting for you every day. Subscribe today to never miss a beat. I looked at my watch. It was already 12:30 at night. On the test paper spread out in front of me, I'd been stuck on the first big question for almost an hour. I'd memorized all the formulas and studied the example questions, but still couldn't solve it no matter what. This was the paper due tomorrow, and there were 3 more big questions left to do. I got more and more anxious. Unconsciously, a big tear the size of a bean dropped onto the paper, quickly spreading into a large, wet circle. It was very quiet in the dormitory. I didn't dare to sniff, so I could only cover my mouth carefully. I didn't want to cry either. After all, I was already a senior in high school, but I just couldn't help it. I was kneeling on the bed. 2 hours had passed since I started. Now my legs were sore and my feet hurt, but even so, I still hadn't solved a single big question. Maybe everyone was right. I might as well go home and sell sweet potatoes. The more I thought about it, the sadder I got. There were already several wet circles on the paper. They quickly merged together. It's over. When the class monitor sees my paper tomorrow, he'll probably laugh at me again. Thinking of this, I felt even worse. I couldn't hold back and sniffed. Just then, a very light footstep sounded in the quiet dormitory, slowly approaching me. I didn't want him to know I was crying, so I quickly held my breath. Soon, the sound stopped beside my bed. Then, a hand lifted my bed curtain and reached into my quilt, putting a warm glutinous rice ball on my pillow. He didn't say anything. After putting it down, he walked back gently. I rubbed my eyes and picked up the rice ball. It was still warm. It's so late now. How did he keep it so warm? I thought as I unwrapped it and took a gentle bite. So fragrant. There was my favorite salted egg yolk and refreshing, sweet taro puree. It was so delicious. He was so nice. While chewing, I gradually stopped crying. Soon, I finished the rice ball, felt much better, and was full of energy again. I picked up my pen again, rubbed my wet eyelashes, and decided that I must solve this question tonight. Because I had a high fever when I was a child, I'd been slower than others and had bad grades ever since. Along the way, I'd been laughed at by many people for being stupid, but even so, I've never slackened off in my studies for a single day. Before this semester, I was on the same schedule as everyone else. I got up when everyone else got up, studied when everyone else studied, and went to sleep when it was time to sleep. But now it's senior year of high school, and there are only a little over 200 days left until the college entrance examination. I'm not as smart as others, so naturally, I can't be the same as before, so I decided that the slow bird should start flying earlier and study 3 more hours at night. But just a week after I started, the fact that I secretly did exercises in the dormitory at night was spread around the class. Everyone made fun of me, overtly and covertly, saying that even someone like me knew to work hard. Some people, who took the joke too far, even said that I might as well go home and sell sweet potatoes since I hadn't learned anything in all these years. I was so embarrassed that I didn't dare to blatantly study with a flashlight anymore. I could only draw the bed curtain and study secretly in the quilt. One night, a week after that, when I was holding my book and reciting English words, a hand suddenly reached in and put a rice ball beside my bed. I was startled and quietly lifted the curtain, only seeing a tall figure from behind. I recognized this figure. It was Neil, the top student in our class. Even in the whole school, I didn't know what he meant. The dormitory was quiet. I didn't dare to ask, and during the day, he was always surrounded by people asking questions, so it was even harder to disturb him anyway. From that day on, every night at around 12 o'clock, he would put some food beside my pillow. Sometimes it was a rice ball, sometimes a pancake, and sometimes something else, but no matter what it was, it coincidentally suited my taste and was just enough to relieve my hunger and tiredness. This had been going on for almost a month. 3 days later, it was the first monthly exam of senior year. I attached great importance to this monthly exam. After all, the homeroom teacher said that every monthly exam in senior year was a rehearsal for the college entrance examination. Moreover, I'd studied secretly for a month, and I really wanted to know how effective this month had been. Carrying a heavy school bag, I recited words and formulas while trotting to the examination room, and thus completed the 6-subject exam. There was a 2-day holiday after the exam, but I couldn't calm down at home at all. I couldn't wait to sneak back to school and go to the office to check my scores. Finally, I endured the 2 days. There was evening study on the day we returned to school. The first class was guarded by the homeroom teacher. I sat nervously in my seat, waiting for the class monitors of each subject to hand out the test papers. The first one was Chinese. With a score of 70, I was a bit stunned, but it's okay. I comforted myself by patting myself. I didn't review Chinese much this month, so it's normal that there's no progress. Then came mathematics, 62 points, only 2 points more than last semester. It's okay, I continued to comfort myself. 2 more points are still good. Soon, the other test papers were handed out one after another. If I could still find excuses for Chinese and mathematics, I couldn't find any excuses at all when looking at the scores of other subjects. There was no progress in each subject compared to last semester. English was even 10 points lower, but I'd recited so many words. After the homeroom teacher announced the rankings, he went back to the office. After he left, I couldn't hold back anymore and lay down on the table and cried, but I didn't dare to cry out loud, afraid that everyone would laugh at me, so I could only cry silently. Ouch. Unexpectedly, Louis, the student in front of me, noticed something was wrong with me. Is the workaholic crying? I heard him ask with a laugh. As soon as he said this, the whole class seemed to quiet down. Let me see your test paper. How many points did you get? A few scattered laughs came along with his voice. When I lay down just now, I was pressing on the test paper. Now Louis wanted to take it. I could only pretend to be asleep and try hard to hold it down so he couldn't take it. Let me have a look. Louis's voice was a bit louder. You had such a big show at the start of the semester. Let me worship the counterattack of the great God. The laughter in the classroom grew louder. Louis was doing it on purpose. He must have known my grades since the homeroom teacher had already announced the rankings. I secretly clenched my fists. I couldn't dislike him more at this moment. Are you annoying? At this time, another person at the front table interrupted. He wants to sleep for a while. Why are you interrupting? It was Neil. I recognized his voice from the first word. What, sleeping? Louis didn't give up. He clearly, who isn't sleepy after a 2-day holiday? Neil interrupted directly. After that, I felt a piece of clothing cover my head, completely covering me. Opening my eyes slightly, I saw a school uniform. Do your own thing, he continued. Neil was the top student in our school. Usually, although he didn't talk much, as long as he opened his mouth, everyone would unconsciously listen to him. Seeing this, Louis didn't come to bother me anymore and sat back dejectedly under Neil's school uniform. I sniffed again. Finally, it was the end of school. It was already 10 o'clock, but I didn't go back to the dormitory directly. I felt so bad that I found a small corner of the playground to hide and finally cried out loud. I knew I shouldn't be like this. After all, I was already 18 and a boy. I shouldn't be so whiny, but I just couldn't help it. I'm so stupid. No matter how hard I try, I can't study well. Am I not even going to be able to go to university? What should I do in the future? Should I really go home and sell sweet potatoes? But I don't even know how to bake sweet potatoes. Last time, when I helped my mom fry eggs at home, I even poked a hole through the bottom of the pan. I'm not sure if I can bake sweet potatoes well, and sweet potatoes can only be sold in winter. What should I do in summer? But, I still don't want to sell sweet potatoes. I want to study while crying and thinking all kinds of random thoughts. A pair of shoes suddenly appeared in front of me. Looking up, I saw Neil looking at me. I knew he was different from Louis and the others, so I didn't try to hide it. I slowly stood up and looked up at him. He didn't say anything either, just looked at me quietly. After looking at him for a while, for some reason, the sourness in my heart gushed out like a spring. Neil, I couldn't hold back and burst into loud crying. I walked up to hold his arm, crying and asking, can you teach me? I don't want to go home and sell sweet potatoes, but I'm too stupid. I can't figure it out by myself. Can you teach me? After saying that, I continued to sob. After patiently listening to me, Neil didn't answer immediately. He raised his hand and gently wiped away the tears all over my face, then comforted me very gently. I'll teach you. Don't cry. I promise. You don't have to go home and sell sweet potatoes. Really, can you really promise? When we got to the dormitory building, I asked Neil. This was the 4th time I'd asked him this question on the way back from the playground each time. He patiently promised me, but even so, I still wasn't at ease. I hung my head all the way, feeling pain in my head and eyes. I promise, he answered again, but, I'm not smart. I can't remember words, can't memorize formulas, I can't even understand the meaning of classical Chinese. I got the 5th lowest score in the class today, but I know that actually, I should be the last one, because those few people behind me are worse than me because they don't even want to study. As I said that, I felt sadder and sadder. Neil, I'm so scared. It was very late. The dormitory gate would close in 10 minutes. In the empty stairwell, only the footsteps of Neil and I could be heard. Teresa, he stopped and turned to look at me. Do you trust me? I nodded without thinking. That's right. He raised his hand and gently wiped the corners of my eyes. For the remaining 200 days, the only thing you need to remember is to trust me. When he said this, he looked extremely serious. Every word was pronounced very clearly and solemnly in this late-night stairwell. It sounded so firm. Before the early morning self-study started the next day, Neil exchanged seats with my deskmate and sat next to me. I sat by the wall, and he sat by the aisle. After sitting down and packing up, he took out a notebook from his bag. It was as big as a textbook and seemed as thick as my little finger. There were 6 different colored sticky notes crisscrossed on it, and each sticky note was marked with a subject. Then, he took out a stack of exercise books, a thick pile, 6 in total. From today on, you'll follow the plan I made for you, he said after putting all the things on my desk. I stared blankly at the pile of books that almost blocked me, wondering when he bought these. Although my grades were bad, I could still tell that these exercise books were really too easy for Neil. It was impossible that he bought them for himself. And that thick notebook couldn't have been made in one night either. Neil, when did you prepare all these? He didn't answer. Instead, he opened a page of the notebook and pointed. It's English early morning self-study today. Recite this page first. I looked at the notebook in amazement, only feeling that Neil was so amazing because on this word list he'd sorted out, the words were either strung together into easy-to-remember jingles, or there were simple mnemonics beside them, and some even had interesting simple sketches for illustration, vivid and lively. I used to memorize words by rote, letter by letter. Often, I'd forget the previous one as soon as I memorized the next. It was the first time that I felt memorizing words could be such an easy thing. I stopped thinking too much and started to recite them earnestly. When the bell rang for the end of class, I had already memorized half of the words on that whole page. That was also the first time I'd ever felt a sense of accomplishment in my studies from that day on. Except for in class, I did everything Neil told me to do. At other times he was a very conscientious teacher. He would accompany me to recite ancient poems while we were queuing up for food, help me review formulas during the break for exercises, and correct wrong questions with me during the evening study and after the evening study. When I was hiding in the quilt doing exercises, he would still lift my bed curtain and put a warm midnight snack beside me when he guessed that I might be hungry. It was just that, unlike before, he wouldn't leave right away. Now, he would stand by my bed and check my homework. If there were any questions I couldn't answer or had done wrong, he would even climb onto my bed and explain them to me in a low voice. He was extremely patient. If I didn't understand after the first explanation, he would explain it again. If I still didn't get it after 2 times, he would change his way of thinking and explain it a third time. In short, he would keep explaining until I understood. The most times I remember, he explained a geometry question 8 times before I finally knew how to do it. At the moment I wrote down the answer, I felt so lucky to have met someone as nice as Neil. Soon, the next monthly exam came around. It was already late November. After studying with Neil for a month, I felt that I had made some progress, but with the lesson from last month, I didn't dare to have any expectations for this monthly exam. As soon as I finished the exam, I ran straight home without even going back to the dormitory. However, after pretending to be an ostrich under the quilt for 3 hours, I couldn't hold back anymore. I couldn't help but start to think about what I should do if there was still no progress this time. Did that mean that even Neil couldn't save me? Was I really hopeless? The more I thought about it, the more anxious I got. I faintly felt a pain in my stomach, and my forehead started to sweat. Just then, my phone rang. I picked it up and saw that it was Neil calling. Why did you leave without going back to the dormitory after the exam? He asked on the phone. I didn't know how to answer, so I just breathed softly and said nothing. Seeing that I didn't speak, Neil then asked, Teresa, what's wrong with you? I held back for a while before saying, Neil, do you think I'll make progress this time? When I asked this question, I felt my heart pounding as if it was about to jump out, and I didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Yes, Neil answered me without hesitation. These 2 words, like a divine oracle, made every nerve that had been tensed up in me relax at the same time. At that moment, I trusted his judgment completely and believed what he said. I didn't plan to cry, but when I opened my mouth, my voice was still trembling. Really, I don't know. I didn't even dare to go back to the dormitory today after the exam. I'm just so afraid that I still haven't made any progress this month. My voice was muffled under the quilt. If that's the case, then I'm really doomed. No. Teresa, I promised you, don't cry, and don't be afraid, I will definitely keep my word. He really did keep his word. On the day we returned to school, the first class of the evening study was still guarded by the homeroom teacher. He stood still at the podium with a big stack of test papers in his arms, took a deep breath first, and then said, "The results of this monthly exam are out. Before I hand out the test papers, I'd like to praise Teresa in our class first." Hearing my name, I got really nervous. This time, the homeroom teacher continued, "Teresa has made very obvious progress. His score has increased by 30 points compared to last time." As soon as he finished speaking, there were exclamations in the classroom, and everyone turned to look at me. Even Lewis couldn't help but give me a complicated look. Although the progress in each subject's score isn't that much when averaged, added together, it's already a big step forward. I couldn't hear what the homeroom teacher said next, because at that moment, every corner of my mind was filled with the number 30. After the test papers were handed out, I picked up each one and looked at it over and over again. I couldn't believe that I could get such a score, and I never thought that I would receive praise from the teacher because of these 30 points. I was even more motivated and was full of energy every day, pestering Neil to give me more test papers to do. The following days passed quickly. I made steady progress in the next 2 monthly exams. By the final exam, I had improved my score by 70 points compared to the beginning of the school year. The winter vacation of senior year was only 10 days, but I was extremely happy during this new year. My parents thought I was studying hard, so they cooked all kinds of delicious food for me every day. When they saw me doing homework in my room, they didn't even dare to speak loudly and told me not to put too much pressure on myself. I was completely living a life where I didn't have to lift a finger. On New Year's Eve, I slumped on the sofa with a big basin of fruits and snacks, watching the Spring Festival Gala. When I was happily watching a skit, I received a message on my phone from Neil. "Teresa, Happy New Year. I hope all your wishes will come true in the new year." Looking at that message, my eyes got a bit teary. I sniffed before replying, "Neil, thank you. All your wishes will surely come true too. You are my best friend for life." After school started, the study atmosphere became even more intense. The shrinking number on the blackboard was like a silent horn, silently urging us on. Everyone was racing against time, wishing they could do one more question and memorize one more poem. My scores in the start of term exam and the first mock exam still improved a lot, which also made me full of confidence. However, the monthly exam in March dropped by 20 points without any warning. I was stunned. It was also from then on that I felt like my studies had been put on pause. I couldn't memorize words, remember formulas, and even wrote a mess when it came to the simple explanations of classical Chinese. It seemed that overnight, I was back to being the fifth from the bottom. I was extremely anxious and could only squeeze my time more. I cut my meal time to 5 minutes, ran to the toilet, and postponed my bedtime from 1:00 am to 3:00 am. But even so, in the next monthly exam, my score dropped another 10 points. Suddenly, I felt doomed. I couldn't eat or sleep. It was also from then on that I felt like crying all the time and often had a headache. Actually, since I didn't do well in the first mock exam, Neil had been comforting me and trying many ways to cheer me up, but I was obsessed with scores and rankings, and was so stressed by the countdown that I couldn't listen to anything. I couldn't help but look at my scores and compare them with the admission scores of previous years. The words "I'm doomed" haunted my nerves all the time. During the festival, the school had a one-day holiday. I had originally planned to go home, but looking at my current grades, I decided to stay at the school to study. Everyone in the dormitory went home, even Neil. That night, I did exercises in the classroom until very late. On the way back to the dormitory, I felt dizzy, as if I couldn't take another step at any moment. After going back, washing up, and getting into bed, I continued to read a book, but no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't read a single word. It seemed that they were all against me and refused to get into my head. All the frustration and panic finally burst out when I realized that I had done another question wrong. I curled up under the quilt and cried out loud. I didn't know what to do. Neil had already spent all the remaining time on me, but I still hadn't made any progress. Maybe they were right. I was really a hopeless case. The previous progress was just an illusion. From the beginning to the end, no matter how hard I struggled, I could only be the fifth from the bottom. I kept crying and thinking randomly, huddled up and sobbing until I could hardly breathe. "Teresa," suddenly, I heard Neil's voice from behind. Hearing his voice, I quickly stopped crying and covered my mouth. Although Neil had seen me cry before, I still didn't want him to see me like this. Teresa, he kept calling and trying to turn me around, but I felt so ashamed that I grabbed the sheet tightly and didn't move. Seeing this, Neil paused for a while, then I felt the bed shake a few times as he climbed onto my bed. He lay down on his side and then put his long arm around me. "Don't cry," he said, but these words made me start to sob softly again. Neil didn't persuade me anymore, just held me gently and patted me. I let him hold me under the quilt and cried until I was thirsty before gradually calming down a bit. "Neil," I called him in a hoarse voice, "what if I don't get into university?" "Even if you don't, it's okay," Neil said softly, "but if I don't, I won't have a job. I don't want to sell roasted sweet potatoes. I'm so stupid that I can't learn many things. No one will want me." Neil paused for a moment and then said, "Then I'll take you. If I start a company, I'll ask you to do the accounting for me. If I open a shop, you can help me collect the money." But I slowly turned around and peeked out from under the quilt to look at him. "I'm not good at math. I can't do the accounting, and I might make mistakes when collecting money." Neil also looked down at me and thought for a while. "Then you can be my assistant. Every day, you help me organize the materials, you buy many colored sticky notes and group them according to the categories, you like things neat and clean so much, and your handwriting is so nice. I'll be able to find the materials you organize right away." "Really?" "Yes." "Then, how much salary will you pay me?" Neil thought carefully for a moment and then asked me. "Full board and 5,000 yuan a month." "How about that? So much?" I widened my eyes. Neil nodded. "I also plan to keep a dog and a cat, but I don't have time to take care of them, if you're willing to." Before he finished, I quickly raised my hand. "I'm willing, I'll do it." "Good, so, with 2 jobs together, it'll be 10,000 yuan a month. Do you think it's enough?" I nodded repeatedly. "Enough, enough." Neil said okay, picked up the notebook beside him, moved back a little but still held me with his other hand. He started to write on the notebook employment notice. After quickly finishing writing, he put down the pen and handed the notebook to me. "Teresa, now, you're the first person in our class to get an offer. You're even more amazing than everyone else." I stared blankly at that simple employment notice. At that moment, I felt like a flower seedling that had been frostbitten was slowly trying to stand up straight in my heart. "Neil," after looking at it for a long time, I put down the paper and looked at him. "You're so nice." Neil pulled me closer to his arms and gently patted my back. "Have a good sleep. Tomorrow will be better." Perhaps because of this outburst, or maybe more because of Neil's comfort. After that day, I gradually regained my previous study state. In the second mock exam, I got back to my previous score. Then in the following monthly exams and small tests, I made good progress each time. By the third mock exam, I had reached the target score line that Neil had set for me. Soon, the college entrance examination arrived. On the morning of the 7th, Neil accompanied me to the examination room. "Don't worry," he patted my shoulder. "No matter what the result of the exam is, I'll have a solution." Every word was firm and powerful. I nodded. He watched me sit down at my seat before walking towards his own examination room. Those 2 days passed quickly. In the blink of an eye, my high school career was over. The days waiting for the exam results were long and agonizing. My parents wanted me to go out and have fun, but I stubbornly insisted on waiting until the results came out. Finally, the end of the month arrived. In our area, the results were released at night. I had been fidgeting since the afternoon that day and barely ate a few bites of dinner. I counted the seconds, minute by minute, until 10 o'clock. But when I was really sitting in front of the computer, I didn't dare to click on the web page at all. I stared blankly at the screen until it locked, not moving a muscle. "I'm too scared to look." I messaged Neil. Ding dong. Almost instantly, Neil replied, "Come down, I'm downstairs at your place." Seeing the message, I jumped up and rushed downstairs. "You got?" I ran over, originally wanting to ask about his grades, but before I could finish, he hugged me tightly. "Teresa, you made it." He held me close. "What?" I looked up numbly. Neil opened his phone and held it in front of me. There was my name and a score on it, a score I'd never even dared to dream of. It wasn't extremely high, but it was enough for me to get into college. My brain instantly went oxygen deprived, and I felt a bit dizzy. Neil quickly sat me down on the chair beside us. "Really?" I asked in disbelief. "Yes." I held his hand tightly and stared carefully at the numbers on the phone again. Then I let out a sob and started crying in his arms. "Neil." I called his name but didn't know what to say. Neil held me and gently patted my back in silence for a long time. Neil helped me choose the university and major. He listed several options and carefully analyzed the pros and cons of each school and major. asking me to take them home and discuss with my parents. My parents had known for a long time that Neil was tutoring me and had asked me to invite him home for dinner many times to thank him, so they trusted him very much. After consulting the teacher, we finally selected one of the universities. It was a very ordinary second-tier university in City A, the same city where Neil's university was. On the day of registration, my parents originally wanted to send me, but my mom had sprained her waist a couple of days ago, so my dad had to stay home to take care of her and asked me to go with Neil. So I went to the university thousands of miles away with Neil. He accompanied me through the registration process, picked up the daily necessities, and helped me settle down in the dormitory before going to his own school. After registration came the military training. The weather in City A was still very hot at that time. The sun was so big that it seemed like it could burn the city to a crisp. After the first day, my neck was burning, and I couldn't even sleep. When I was tossing and turning in the middle of the night, I couldn't help complaining about it to Neil. I don't know when it started, but I'd already gotten into the habit of telling him everything. When I woke up the next day, it was just dawn. I picked up my phone in a daze and saw a text message from Neil. "I'm waiting for you downstairs in your dormitory." I quickly got up and ran downstairs. From afar, I saw him holding a bag. "What are you doing here?" Neil handed me the bag. "There's sunscreen and some ointment in here. Go and put it on quickly, then put on sunscreen on the other parts. Remember to apply it once in the morning and once at noon every day." "Okay." I opened the bag and saw 2 tubes of ointment, 2 big boxes of sunscreen, and an extra-large thermos cup. "What's this?" I picked up the cup and asked him. "This cup can keep things warm," he explained. "There's iced drink in it. You can drink it when you're on break." I was so surprised that I didn't know what to say. "Neil, you're so nice." I walked over and held his arm. "I must be your best friend for life." Hearing that, Neil smiled. "Go on." After the military training, I quickly adapted to university life. My roommates were very nice. They knew I was slow-witted, but instead of laughing at me, they took care of me in every way. Neil's school was very close to mine. His school was excellent and had many interesting activities. I often shamelessly went to play with him. After a while, not only his roommates but even the students in the neighboring dormitories knew me. Every time I went there, they would warmly welcome me in and eagerly share all kinds of delicious food with me. It's just that sometimes they would say some strange things that I couldn't understand. For example, they always asked Neil when something was going to happen. "When what?" I asked Neil, looking confused. "Nothing." He put the straw of the milk tea in my mouth. "Don't mind them." Soon, autumn arrived. The maple leaves in City A were very famous. My roommate suggested going to Shishan Mountain on the weekend. I wanted to invite Neil to go, but he said he was busy on the weekend, so I went with my roommates. We had a delicious firewood-cooked chicken for dinner at the foot of the mountain. I wanted to bring some for Neil, so I repacked a portion and got off the bus early at the gate of his school. On the way back, walking towards his dormitory, I was thinking about how beautiful the scenery on mountain was and that I didn't want him to miss it. I was planning to go with him again next week. By the lake not far away, I saw him walking side by side with a girl. I froze for a moment, and my mood suddenly felt strange. I hesitated for a long time about whether to call him. Before I could make a decision, suddenly, the girl turned around and hugged him directly. I was so startled that I dropped the bag I was holding with a clang. The noise caught their attention. When our eyes met Neil's, I felt inexplicably guilty and, without thinking, turned around and ran towards the gate. At the school gate, I hailed a taxi and got in. My mind was blank the whole way. After getting out of the taxi, I walked dazedly towards the dormitory. After sitting down in the dormitory, I stared blankly at the wall in a daze. I couldn't even hear my roommate calling me. The scene of Neil and that girl walking together kept replaying in my head. I didn't know what was wrong with me. For the first time in 18 years, I couldn't describe my feelings. That feeling was extremely unfamiliar, and I couldn't find the words to describe it. After sitting there in a daze for a while, I took out a piece of paper from the drawer. It was the employment notice Neil had written for me. I'd been carrying it with me ever since he gave it to me. At this moment, I stared at it blankly, and a big tear dropped onto it with a plop. I raised my hand in a daze and realized that I was crying, but I didn't know why. The phone rang for the 3rd time, and with my roommate's reminder, I finally came to my senses. I picked it up and saw that it was Neil calling. I answered, and he asked me a bit anxiously if I was back at school. I didn't answer. After rubbing my eyes, I said, "Neil, am I really stupid? Otherwise, why didn't I even know why I was sad?" "No." Neil's voice was still very gentle. "You're just slow to react. Many things take you a bit longer to figure out." "Like what?" "Like," Neil paused, "the fact that I like you." With a bang, I felt like something in my heart had exploded. "Can you come down?" Neil asked again. "Teresa, come down and see me." Okay, this was the first time I'd heard Neil speak in such a tone, still gentle, but in that gentleness, there seemed to be so many unspoken feelings. I agreed and numbly went downstairs. Neil saw me, walked over, didn't say a word, and directly pulled me towards the woods beside us. He didn't stop until we reached a deserted corner. Then turned around and said to me, I really was busy today, there's an exhibition at school, and I had to help. The girl you saw likes me, but I made it clear to her that I already liked someone. I didn't expect her to hug me. You ran away when you saw me. I didn't care about anything else and just wanted to catch up with you quickly, afraid that you'd never talk to me again. Don't be angry, okay? I stared up at him blankly, hearing his words but not really listening. After Neil finished speaking, he waited for a while. Seeing that I didn't say anything, he called me carefully. Teresa. Neil, I finally said, when it was almost time for the college entrance examination. I really liked the fried noodles at school. Do you remember? Yes, at that time, I wanted to eat them almost every day, but there were always a lot of people at the fried noodle stand, and it took half an hour to buy them every time. But you still bought them for me every day, rain or shine, a few times. When it was raining, you were afraid the lunchbox would get wet and the noodles would get cold, so you hid it inside your clothes and brought it back. On the way back just now, I was thinking about whether you'd also queue up like that to buy food for others in the future, and whether you'd also be so careful to hide the lunchbox inside your clothes for fear that they'd eat cold food. Thinking about it, I got really sad. As I said that, my eyes started to feel sour again. I'm really stupid. I don't understand why, but I just don't want you to buy food for others. Before I could finish, Neil pulled me over and hugged me tightly. I won't. He held me tightly and stroked my hair to comfort me, saying, Teresa, I'll only do this for you. Before, and in the future, I let him hold me for a long time in a daze before finally slowly raising my hand and putting it around his waist. Then promise me that you'll never do this for others. I promise. Neil let go a little, wiped the corners of my eyes as usual, and then hugged me into his arms again. I immediately felt at ease. The previously accumulated sourness melted into a sense of satisfaction that was almost overflowing, and all the unhappiness finally disappeared. At that moment, I realized that this was what liking someone meant. We didn't say anything more and just leaned on each other after hugging like this for a while. Seeing that there were hardly any people on campus and the dormitory was about to close, he reluctantly let me go, sent me back, and gave me a light hug downstairs before letting me go up. I walked up the stairs in a trance, still a bit in disbelief that I was with Neil. His embrace was warm, and he had a nice smell of laundry detergent, as if it wrapped me up completely in this late autumn. Thinking like this, I reached the door, and my hand just touched the doorknob when I stopped, because at that moment, I really missed Neil, even though we'd only separated 3 minutes ago. But I didn't care. I took out my phone and dialed his number. Neil, I whispered into the phone, I miss you a little now. I don't want you to go. Can you not leave today? On the phone, Neil was silent for a moment, then said, Come down, I'll take you out. We took a taxi to the nearest hotel after checking in and going upstairs. As soon as we entered the room, he picked me up and pinned me against the wall. Then, he held the back of my neck and kissed me directly the moment our lips touched. I felt Neil's scorching body temperature slip in through the gap between our lips and quickly flow all the way to my heart. He kissed me gently, and the movement of licking my lips was slow, but when he spoke, his voice was hoarse and low. Teresa, he called me softly, his forehead against mine. Open your mouth, let me in. I stared at him in a daze, not quite understanding. He got closer, almost touching my lips again. Open up, okay. I hesitated for a moment before finally slowly opening my mouth. Neil immediately pushed in, as if he wanted to devour me, and kissed me passionately. Kissing, he picked me up again, strode to the bed, and then we both fell into the soft mattress together. I was clumsy, unable to coordinate my breathing and heartbeat, and felt like I was floating in a sea of clouds as light and soft as feathers. The next day, Neil sent me back in the afternoon. As soon as I entered the dormitory, I couldn't help announcing to everyone that I was with Neil. Oh. Unexpectedly, they replied nonchalantly, just oh, why aren't you surprised? My roommate Liangqing thought for a while and said, We are quite surprised, but what surprises us is that you two just got together now. What do you mean? Zhang Qi, who was sitting aside, chimed in, Dude, you're really slow on the uptake. That handsome guy of yours, he's either worried you'll be cold or hungry. Every few days, he either sends you food or clothes. It's like raising a son. Anybody would think you two were already together. Really? I scratched my head. I'd always thought it was normal, that Neil was just a nice person. I never thought this was what preference meant. After we got together, We met almost every day, either I went to find him, or he came to find me, but the good times didn't last long. Soon, the final exams arrived. I was afraid of failing, so I spent 12 hours a day in the library reviewing. Neil had many more exam subjects than me, and he hardly had any time to come and see me either. Just like that, we toughed out 2 exam weeks. Before we could meet after coming out of the last exam, I called Neil. He was already on his way to me. "I want to hug you later," I couldn't help saying because I missed him so much. "Okay," Neil said with a gentle laugh on the other end, "and kiss you." "Okay," I thought for a while and then asked in a small voice, "Then, can you do it like last time?" "Like what?" "Just," I got a bit embarrassed, but then I thought, we're a couple. The closest people to each other, there's nothing I can't say. "Just, kiss there." On the phone, Neil's breathing hitched. "Teresa, we're outside." His voice got a bit deeper. "We can't," I said dejectedly. I didn't say we had to do it outside. Why did he reject me so bluntly? But, then I heard him say, "When we get to the place we're staying, we can." We'd planned to play for 2 days on the way back after the exams. Hearing his words, I was happy again. I rushed back to get my luggage and ran towards the school gate like the wind. Before I got close, I saw Neil walking towards me from afar. He seemed even more handsome and taller than he was in high school. His serious look was like the cold and aloof protagonist in a manga, but I knew his smile was beautiful. His embrace was warm. Even that heart that was easily mistaken for being cold was passionate and full of lasting love. On this day, the sun finally came out in City A, which had been cloudy for a long